We're through 12 weeks of the NFL season. That's 66% of the games. Sad, isn't it? But this is about the time when I start to evaluate all the so-called contenders and decide who I want to place a wager on to win the Super Bowl. So what's the formula? What's the one thing that all the recent Super Bowl champions seem to have in common? Does it all come down to having an elite quarterback? That's certainly part of it, but to me, it's on the other side of the ball. It's the defense. More specifically, it's in the trenches, in the front four. Can you generate pressure with your front four without relying on the blitz? The modern NFL game is built to benefit the quarterback more than ever before. We've made a significant move to downfield passing attacks and explosive plays through the air. I mean, is there a more difficult job in professional sports than playing cornerback in the NFL?
Number 32, defense. That penalty occurred in the end zone.
We're seeing many teams play with 6+ defensive backs in coverage. Look at what the Cincinnati Bengals did in 2021 to make Super Bowl 56. We saw as many as 8 DBs on the field in the AFC Championship game against the Chiefs. This puts a premium on edge rushers that can win at the line of scrimmage and generate pressure without sacrificing numbers in the secondary. If you take a look at the last 5 Super Bowl winners, only one of them, the 2019 Kansas City Chiefs, didn't finish the regular season without finishing at least top 8 in pressure rate. The 2019 Chiefs remind us it's still a quarterback-driven league, and having one of the best in the world may be all it takes. But it's not going to provide value. If you look at the 2 best teams with the 2 best quarterbacks in the league, in the Bills and Chiefs, a $100 wager at BetFred Sportsbook is only going to return you at most $550. So now we have to ask ourselves, who is providing value, but who can take down these 2 quarterbacks and their teams? Here's my formula. I need a defensive front that can cause havoc rushing 4 and a rushing attack that can hold time of possession and keep those superstar quarterbacks and their offense off the field. And if I can find a quarterback I can trust too, that's a cherry on top. Let's start by looking at the teams that are amongst the best in the NFL at pressuring opposing QBs. Amongst those teams in the top 10, there are 3 to me that stick out. The Cowboys, who lead the league in over a 40% pressure rate this season. The Bengals, who rank 7th in pressure rate, but aren't converting those pressures into sacks, ranking 27th in sack rate. And finally, the 49ers, who boast an elite front despite injuries throughout the season to Arik Armstead, Javon Kinlaw, and Samson Ebukam. What's important to note for these 3 teams as well is they're all top 10 in pressure rate while ranking in the bottom half of the league in blitz rate. We know that between Micah Parsons, Trey Hendrickson, and Nick Bosa, they've got the talent to generate pressure on their own. The elephant in the room, though, is those 2 quarterbacks we keep going back to in Allen and Mahomes. The AFC is going to be tough to get out of between those 2, Miami, Baltimore, and even Derrick Henry and the Titans. The NFC is a different story, and all you have to do is get to the game and you have a chance. 6 of the last 7 Super Bowl winners have had a higher regular season pressure rate than their opponent in the big game. So who would you rather bet on? The 49ers at plus 650 or the Cowboys at plus 950? Although the Cowboys likely won't be hosting a home playoff game, they'll likely have a first-round matchup with Tampa Bay. And Tom Brady has been one of the league's worst against pressure, completing just 42.3% of his passes, throwing 0 touchdowns, and averaging just 4.3 yards per attempt. The duo of Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard keeps this team fresh, and the offensive line constantly keeps them ahead of the chains, ranking 1st in power success rate, 5th in stuff rate, and 7th in adjusted line yards. There are 2 deciding factors for this team who haven't made or won the NFC Championship game since 1996. The first is Dak Prescott, and I think the media's overlooking of him is the reason why this team still has some value on the betting board. He's completing over 68% of his passes and ranks 8th in yards per attempt. Anyone who thought this team would benefit from playing Cooper Rush over Prescott is living in a fantasy land. The Cowboys offense was averaging just 21.4 points per game with Rush compared to 33.8 with Prescott. Since his return, only 3 teams have a higher offensive EPA per play in the NFL. The second question that needs to be answered is the players in the secondary opposite Trayvon Diggs. Can they get enough from Anthony Brown, Donovan Wilson, Jaron Kearse, and Malik Hooker? They actually grade out as a top 5 coverage unit from PFF, but when the lights shine brightest, can they get off the field? As long as Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence are coming off the edge, this secondary is going to have an advantage. So if you're looking for value on the Super Bowl odds board, I can't find a team that better checks the boxes right now than the Dallas Cowboys. Trust me, it pains me to say this. I'm not sure much of America wants to see this happen. But if it does, at least we can line our pockets with a little extra money. So go place a wager on the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. If you place a $50 bet at BetFred, not only are you going to get $250 in free bets, but they've boosted the odds in the Cowboys to plus 1,000, which is the best number you can find. Click the link below to claim the Bet50, Get 250 offer, and go to the boosted section at BetFred to get the best odds on the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl.